When I first started traveling full time, by far the hardest thing for me to learn was how to get work done, right? The best part of travel is there's just a bunch of new things to see all over the place. These are what we call in the normal world distractions. So in this video, we're going to cover the process that I go through and the tips that I use for getting work done while traveling full time. This way you can skip the part where you piss off your clients because you're not getting anything done and go straight to the part where you get paid. The first key to getting work done while traveling is to define the work that needs to happen. Now, I used to just think this was an extra step and I used to skip it, and as a result I used to drop a lot of balls. I used to have a lot of work that just wouldn't get done because I was distracted by all the things that you see when you travel. I have since changed that habit, and I think that's what's made me be able to successfully run my business and get all my work done while I travel. So I start every single morning with a to-do list of the things that need to get done. I use a program called OmniFocus to do this, but you could use any to-do list manager you want. You could use a free text file if you needed to. The idea here is you get everything out of your head and you put it into a list so that you know everything that needs to get done, and then you work off that list so you have a status update of how you're doing for your day at any given point. So even if you have all these crazy distractions from traveling, you have a defined list so you know what needs to get done. And then from there, you can use the other tips in this video to actually get that work completed. Okay, so you're ready to get work done, but there's just one problem. Something's coming up. Maybe your laptop doesn't have any juice left, or maybe you're really, really hungry, or maybe there's just like a really cool thing that's outside the window that you probably should take a look at. No. If you're gonna get work done, you have to be ridiculous about fighting excuses. When you're traveling, excuses are gonna come up everywhere. It's just part of travel. It's actually what makes it so fun and dynamic. But if you're gonna get work done, you gotta actively fight these. So you gotta do some stuff that you wouldn't normally do if you were just back home. So for example, working in places where other people are not working. You're gonna have to do this all the time. So I've had plenty of moments where an email has to go through, or I gotta make a phone call. So what I'll do, even if I'm at a very touristy spot, I remember I did this at the Colosseum in Rome, is I'll stop what I'm doing and I'll make sure that I get that little piece of work done. And it's funny because people will judge you for this. They'll look at you and like, hey, look at that guy who's working. And really, I mean, I travel full time, right? My vacation is when I go home. It's not when I'm abroad for most of the year. So in order to pay for the things that I do, for all these like tourist adventures that I go on, I have to be able to work while I'm doing it. So just get over it. Like, people are going to judge you for it, but feel free to get some work done in places that are not intended for work to get done. It's just part of the gig. The next part of ignoring excuses is working in places that are just odd. So this means airplanes, when you have to like put it up on the little tray. You get over it, you're just gonna have to make it happen. You're gonna have to do this on buses, you're gonna have to do this at airports, you're gonna have to do this on boats. You're gonna even wanna practice this before you leave home, of working in places that are just totally uncomfortable and odd. But when you're working, and if you're gonna be traveling full time like I do, you just gotta make do with what you have around you, which is the other part of this. So let's say you don't have enough juice on your computer. Well, it turns out that we have this thing called paper and pen. So I've had lots of times when I'll do a brainstorming session with paper and pen because my laptop doesn't work. Or I'll start drafting out important emails in pen and paper, or like, let's say I don't have internet access, I'll just do it in a text document on my computer. You gotta be ridiculous, as I mentioned, about overcoming excuses. Like I said, when you travel, they're everywhere, so you gotta go way out of your way. Like, don't use your computer if that's not an option. Like, scribble things on napkins, like take photos to remind you of things. All these other things that you gotta go way out of your way to make sure that you're fighting the excuses that normally stop people from getting work done while they're traveling. The next tip that I have for you is gonna seem a little odd. So when I work abroad, I don't give myself assigned hours of work. What I do is I give myself assigned durations. So back home, it would be something like a 9 to 5. That's the typical way things are done. When you're traveling, it doesn't work because, first of all, defining 9 to 5 is really hard when you're crossing different time zones. So what I do instead is I do durations. I'll say, okay, I need 3 hours to get this project done. And I don't know when that is going to happen in the span of my day, but I put in the back of my head, okay, 3 hours, and then make sure that I'm able to block off that time somewhere at a cafe or somewhere where I'm able to get the work done, regardless of what time it is in the day. Maybe midnight, maybe 3 in the morning, but I just make sure that that duration has been blocked off, and I'm just aware of it so that I can use that to get the work done, as opposed to trying to give myself an unrealistic schedule. Okay, so the tips before now have all been like a little bit harsh. They're like, but this travel is supposed to be fun. I don't want to be working the whole time, and that's absolutely right. You don't want to be working the whole time. So when you get drained out, or when you're exhausted, or when like you just can't push forward your work, go get inspiration. That's the reason that we travel. So I remember when I did this in Rome again, that I was doing some work and then I just hit this wall. I couldn't do it. So what I did is I went outside and I explored and I walked around and I saw really cool things and I ate lots and lots and lots of things. I ate a lot of things. And this was great. This is exactly the kind of refueling I did. And so what I ended up doing after that, what I learned from this, is that when I hit these mental walls from doing too much work, then I just stop and I embrace what's going on. I smell the roses, like quite literally. I walk around, I have no agenda, and I just enjoy like the new city that I'm in or the new country that I'm in and get inspired that way. And then what I've found is after I find that inspiration, it's really, really easy then to get the work going. So I don't try to like set aside work days and then travel days. What I do is I mix them together so that the inspiration from travel can then fuel my work, and then my work can pay for my travel, and I have an ongoing loop that works like this.